When you think of German Romanticism, you probably picture these sublime landscapes, right? Full of intense emotion, this deep spiritual connection to nature. But get this, what if I told you that the secret ingredient to all that emotional power wasn't just artistic genius, but also cutting-edge science? Yeah, it sounds a little wild, I know. So let's dive into this very surprising connection.
So, for the Romantic painters, the big challenge was figuring out how to capture the raw, untamable force of the natural world. I mean, they weren't just painting, a pretty mountain. They were trying to paint that feeling of awe that hits you when you're standing right in front of one.
Okay, just look at this masterpiece by Caspar David Friedrich. You can almost feel the chill in the air, the immense scale of the rock, that sharp, clear light. It's just so breathtakingly real, but at the same time, it's charged with this almost divine energy.
So that leads to the big question, right? How on earth did they do it? How do you take these fleeting, powerful moments, the shifting light, the rolling clouds, the sheer scale of a mountain, and lock all that feeling and precision down onto a static canvas?
Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking. Believe it or not, to capture the soul of nature, these artists turn to the rigorous, analytical world of science. I know, it sounds like a total paradox, but this was their secret weapon.
All right, so let's start with the sky. Think about it. Before the 1800s, clouds were just clouds, vague, shapeless, and pretty much impossible to describe with any real accuracy. But all of that was about to change.
And then this guy comes along. Meet Luke Howard, an amateur meteorologist. In 1803, he publishes this totally revolutionary essay where he does something no one had ever really done before. He gave clouds names. He created a system, a scientific language for the sky. He used Latin to create a whole classification system. Take cumulus, for example. It means heap or pile in Latin, and it's for those big, fluffy clouds that kind of look like towers or cauliflower. And just like that, the chaos of the sky suddenly had an order. It was something you could actually study, understand, and this is the key for our story, paint with precision. And you can see the connection so clearly right here. On the left, that's one of Howard's scientific watercolors. And on the right, that's an oil sketch by the painter Johann Christian Clausen-Dahl. It's so obvious, right? The artist is using this brand new scientific language to capture the sky in a way that's both realistic and incredibly dramatic. And look, this wasn't some dusty, niche scientific theory. This was a huge cultural deal. The great poet Goethe, like the Goethe, he even wrote a poem about Howard, praising him for grabbing a hold of something that cannot be held or reached. Everyone was buzzing about this new science of the sky. Okay, so they've got a new language for clouds, check. But what about color? Well, that same scientific impulse was happening there too, leading to a whole new systematic way of understanding color itself. So at the time, you basically had two big camps when it came to color theory. You had Isaac Newton, who saw color as pure physics, light, prisms, the whole deal. But then you had Goethe, who argued that, hey, color isn't just physics, it has this powerful psychological, emotional effect on us, the people looking at it. And this is where a painter, Philip Otto Runge, enters the picture. He was like, okay, that's all great, but I need a system that's actually built for artists. So he came up with this, the Farbenkugel, or color sphere. This thing was totally revolutionary. A 3D model that organized colors by hue, sure, but also by brightness and saturation. It was a complete system for creating artistic harmony. And you can totally see him putting his money where his mouth is in his own work. Look at his painting, The Morning. The way he's arranged those blues, yellows, and reds, that's not random. Nope. It's a super deliberate use of his color theory to create symbolic meaning, to make you feel the emotions of dawn and new beginnings. Okay, so we've got a new language for the sky, and we've got a whole new system for color. Let's put it all together and see how these tools really turbocharged the core ideals of Romanticism. Now, this is really important to get. These guys weren't turning into cold scientific illustrators. For them, science wasn't a set of rules holding them back. It was a tool, a whole new vocabulary to help them express this really deep belief they had, that there was a divine living force in all of nature.
Just take a look at this painting by Karl Blechen. That's not just some random dark smudge up there. That is a meteorologically accurate depiction of an approaching storm front. And because it feels so real, that feeling of dread and drama just hits you so much harder. Or check this one out, Karl Rotman's Epidaurus. The way he captures the light, his understanding of the geology of the land, those aren't just little details. They are the very things that create that specific, dramatic mood of this ancient place at sunset.
And that brings us back to Dahl. Look at those clouds. I mean, this is the perfect synthesis, right? The scientific accuracy he picked up from Howard's work gives the whole scene this incredible realism, which just makes the sublime power of those mountains feel even more immense and awe-inspiring.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What do we learn from this incredible moment in history when two worlds that seem like complete opposites just collided? Well, for this brief, totally brilliant moment in time, art and science, they weren't seen as being in different corners fighting it out. No, they were seen as parallel paths, just two different languages trying to describe the very same thing, the fundamental truth and beauty of the universe. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. Today, we really like to put art and science in their own separate boxes, don't we? But if these artists could find so much power where those two worlds met, it really makes you wonder, right? Where do these worlds meet now? And what kind of amazing truths might we find if we looked there?